Reddit, what's your craziest I can explain moment? I used to have to unload stuff from my work truck into my garage. It wasn't uncommon for me to forget to shut the tailgate on the covered truck bed. In the summer it wasn't such a bad thing, but in the winter, cats would take shelter in it. On bad nights, I would intentionally leave it open. These were cats other neighbors just let roam the neighborhood, often forgetting about them. I felt bad for them, but didn't want to bring them into my house because I didn't want fleas disease transferred to my animals. I got into the habit of smacking the bed with my hand before shutting the tailgate and driving to work. When I smacked the bed, the cats would usually jet out the back of the truck. I would do a quick look in and then shut the tailgate. One wintry, blistery day I woke up late, so I ran out the door, slammed the tailgate without thinking about or doing the obligatory bed smack look. On the way to the job, I stopped to get gas at a station really close to my house and remembered I needed gas for my snowblower. I usually had a gas can in the bed. I stopped at the gas station, which was a typically busy in the morning gas station, and started filling the truck. I went back to the tailgate to open it to get the gas can out. I dropped the tailgate and about 6 terrified cats came racing out of the bed. One actually ran up and over me, leaping from my shoulder. They did this big loopity-loop, panic run in the gas station and then headed off into the neighborhood. They all made it out safe and we were only a few blocks from my house. But for one instant, everyone in the gas station froze to stare at me. People inside were staring out at me. People at the pumps were staring at me. I've never felt so judged in my life. It was like I was trafficking humans. I could feel their eyes penetrating my soul. It was about 10 OF out and I could feel myself starting to sweat. When I went in to get coffee, the silence finally broke and a woman asked me what it was all about. I explained it to her, rather loudly so that everyone who witnessed it could hear it. I don't think they believed me. I was shooting a movie with some friends and one scene was a couple in bed having an argument. They filmed at my home and we were gonna do a few more takes later and the team decided to leave the equipment at my house. I go on a date with a girl and everything is well and good and she gets brought back to my place. Things get serious and we head to the bedroom where she is greeted with camera equipment aimed at the bed. She is creeped out and I explained. She wasn't that understanding. I was in my early 20s. And we were spending a couple of weeks at a friend's beach house in an upscale East Coast resort town. One late night, we decided would be a great idea to crash the local community swimming pool for a skinny dip. So 7 guys and gals pile into one sedan to head off for the challenge. I am the only non-drinker, so I am the naturally designated driver. We arrive at the pool, shimmy through an opening in the fence, chuck off all of our clothes and jump in. Hilarity ensues. Until, wait, someone has notified the cops of our presence. As we see the cop car searchlight scanning for us, we freak. Time to make a fast escape and pile back into the ride undetected. But not enough time to get dressed. So we are now a car full of 7 people, 6 of them drunk, covered in nothing but towels. And we drive away, confident in our success. However, in all the excitement, I managed to make an illegal left turn as part of our getaway. And, you guessed it, cop car lights up and pulls me over. The officer gets out and approaches the car full of mostly naked 20-somethings. He takes a look and says to me, with a straight face and without missing a beat, "I don't reckon you'd have a driver's license under there, would you? Where even to begin?" "You're welcome to look, officer." I had just put air ride on my truck and was taking it on its maiden voyage. I forgot to tuck a brake line and had been unknowingly dragging through it. All of a sudden it decides to let loose right as I'm stopping at a stop sign. I'm halfway through the intersection with no brakes when I see a cop sitting waiting to bust people for blowing through. He pulls me over and I try to explain. He clearly doesn't believe me, so he asks me to press my brake pedal. Boom. Brake fluid squirted right onto his shoe. No ticket. Me and my roommates came home late one night from a night of drinking. It's about 2 AM, and there is a knock on our back door. I open it up and there is a tall, muscular fellow there wearing only a t-shirt and tennis shoes, cupping his unmentionables and covered in bloody gashes. He says he can explain, that the cops are after him, and asks to come in. My other roommate comes down and is like, absolutely, come right in. No one comes to someone's door naked in the middle of the night to start trouble. You come because you need help. Right, so the guy starts in on this story of how they are at a house party up the street. They are loud and have had a few noise complaints, so the cops are essentially sitting on the corner just waiting to bust them. He thinks it would be a good idea to take his pants off and go streaking by a parked police cruiser. Hint, it was not a good idea. 2 cops start chasing him. Another goes into the house to start interrogating his friends. Did I mention this was a tall muscular dude? He runs laps around the overweight policemen, then takes off across a field to either outrun them or hide. As I understand, he distances himself by about 75 yards, then runs headlong into a barbed wire fence. The barbs had left huge gashes in his stomach, chest and legs, but he untangles himself and hides in a culvert as the cops roam the neighborhood with flashlights looking for him. Flash forward 2 hours. He sees us come home, across from the field where he is hiding, and makes his way to our back door and recounts his tale. We give him a beer, a pair of gym shorts, and escort him back to his house party, where he is greeted with raucous laughter, applause, and more than a few disgruntled looks from the people he had left to be interrogated by the police for an hour. The entire party covered for him, claiming that they didn't know him and that he had not left his pants with them, they hid them, and his wallet. It all worked out. Man, that guy must have had the night of his life. Was reading an interview Stephen Colbert did with Playboy on their website. Someone walked past, did a double take, and asked if I was really looking at the Playboy website. Had to explain that, despite all the jokes that have ever been made throughout the history of Playboy, I actually was reading it for the articles. A phrase I never ever anticipated uttering in real life. I used the Playboy interview with Steve Jobs in a paper last year. It was decidedly relevant, but I thought it out just so that I could say that I cited Playboy in an academic context. Once opened my front door to 2 Jehovah's Witnesses, which in turn opened to a bedroom with what looked like 6 naked men in a giant bed together. They ran off down the street before my hungover brain could figure out why they were freaked out. We were just hungover and watching crappy cartoons on my projector. Just straight equally hungover men watching cartoons topless in bed together. 0-0. I've decided that if Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses knock on my door, I'm going to answer the door in full BDSM gear and offer them some gay pee, just so they leave quickly and never bother me again. I got real drunk with my girlfriend and her mate one Saturday night. They convinced me to wear a dress, and then when I passed out in a chair in the living room they covered me in makeup, lipstick, blush, mascara, the works. I looked like a transvestite clown. So I wake up in the chair 9 AM Sunday with a jolt as someone is knocking loudly at the door. Still half drunk, I open the door to 2 Mormons. They look at me shocked, stammer we've got the wrong house, and leave. Took me a few secs to realize what I looked like to them. So that's what it takes. Thanks for the tip. Mine is not so much I can explain so much as I should have explained better. Okay, grade 4, rough time. Playing on the playground with a bunch of friends. Some variant of Tiggy. Anyway, I'm it, and I'm up on the top of the playground, when I see that there is a girl down below me, unaware of my current location. I jump down to go to tag her, but she starts moving as I fall, and I end up landing on her with my knee. Said girl bursts out in tears, and yells, "I can't believe you would kick me," and starts to run away, presumably to tell on me. Now, I'm a sensitive kid, but I'm also afraid of authority, and I determine that I need to go and fix this. So, I run after her, calling out something along the lines of "Are you okay?" as I go. To this, she responds, "No, you kicked me." At this point I decide that I need to clear up some facts, so I yell out, "I need you." This repeats a couple of times, her yelling and me responding with "I need you," until it dawns on me what it sounds like I'm saying, because I see a group of confused looking grade 7ers looking on. Again, to clear up the details, I look at them and yell out, while making a kneeing motion with my leg, "You know, bang, bang." Seconds later I realize what all this sounds like, and I die of shame. That was about the most embarrassment a 9-year-old could take. Back when I was in graduate school, this woman named Amol in one of my classes suggested we get together and study. I prefer studying on my own, but, so as not to be rude, I agreed anyways. She scribbles her number down, I put it in my wallet, and then promptly forget about the whole thing. About a year later, my wife was looking for a card in my wallet while we were driving down the road and stumbles across a slip of paper. She opens it up and in a shocked voice asks, "What the heck is this?" By this time, my memory of getting her number was almost completely gone, as was most of the letter M in a mile. So when I read the piece of paper, I see exactly what my wife sees. One word AL, followed by a phone number. I immediately say I can explain, but given that I had forgotten about getting her number, the next 20 seconds involved a mixture of panic and confusion as I tried to remember how the heck I could have possibly ended up with a solicitation for backdoor ride in my wallet. I finally put together what had happened and we had a pretty good laugh over it. However, I often wondered how that would have turned out if I never could have remembered where it came from. TLDR. Learned my wife will believe anything had to explain why I had a solicitation for backdoor ride in my wallet. The TLDR is the best part. I have a handheld electric nail file. It's really, well, corncob shaped. I had some friends over for a sleepover one night and my friend pulls it out and gives me this look of abject horror. I don't think she believed me when I told her it's just a nail file. I didn't realize filing your nails had become so arduous someone had invented an electric nail file. One time I had to explain to my mother why I browsing a website that straight up admitted in the URL to containing questionable content. It was, of course, the webcomic questionable content. Of course. There's always the time in the 6th grade some dipshit got some nonsensical virus on all the computers in a certain lab at school and I got to explain to my teacher why there was a barely legal young woman getting serious double penetration action on my screen instead of my language arts practice. That'd be the time I follow two mena links using my phone, which end up linking to a gay orgy vid. I closed the browser right away, decided I had have enough internet for the day. Next morning I try to show us something on Reddit to my bro, and yeah, gay P starts playing. That was a difficult conversion. About a year and a half ago my friend broke his phone on accident. Unfortunately for him, he was talking to this hot girl on Facebook who wanted his number. She kept asking for it even though he repeatedly said his phone was broken. So he and I agreed that I'll text him through my phone until he gets a new one. All he said to her was he got a temporary phone. So here I am portraying as my friend night in and night out while he doesn't really know what I could be saying. However, I keep him updated. Ultimately it comes to a point where she wants a picture of my friend's dong. Of course I immediately go to Google and search in dong pictures of guys and find about 3 to choose from, which I saved to my phone. I only did it because she offered pics of her body to me in return. She was 18 plus. So a couple days later my other friend is looking through my phone and sees 3 floppy dongs in my photo album. I couldn't believe I forgot to delete them. He and a couple other guys gather around and just look at me as if they don't even know who I am. I immediately try to explain myself while my friend who I was helping out was in the room. At first when I was explaining it even he was like, "Wait, what are you talking about again?" However, thank goodness his mind cleared up and he was able to back me up on the dong pictures, because I would have been in an ever worse awkward situation. I was recently walking home and saw a bunch of bird crap on the sidewalk in front of me. I heard birds in the trees above, so I decided to walk around the drop zone, which put me in the street. As I stepped into the street, I noticed a mid to late 20s black gentleman walking the opposite way on the sidewalk. I have never received a look of disgust that great at any other time in my life. When I was an intern, I'm a doctor, I examined an admittedly ridiculously hot girl who was having palpitations. I took out my stethoscope and listened to her heart under her hospital gown. I clumsily and very accidentally, while holding the stethoscope, brushed her nipple with my hand and her heart starts beating faster and the alarm of the heart monitor starts going off. In comes the nurse to see what's happening and there I am with my hand under her top and both of us are blushing like mad and me looking very, very guilty. Should have gotten her number. First, some background info. I live in Pennsylvania and you're allowed to, and usually have to, pump your own gas. Wait, what? There's places where you're not allowed to do that? Oregon too. I tried pumping my own gas on my way through from Washington to California and the attendant ran up all whoa I got that. Worked at a bike shop and one day a man in a wheelchair comes in to get a flat fixed on his chair. I put a new tube in and rang him up. He was quite pleased with how low the price was. I told him, yeah, any other shop in town would have probably charged you an arm and a leg. The guy was missing an arm and a leg. Could have heard a pin drop. Mom caught me smoking when I was 18. After a lifetime of telling me the evils of cigarettes, she walked into my apartment and saw one in my mouth. Of course, seeing as how it wasn't tobacco, and I was high as a kite, the first thing that came to mind was also the first thing to come out of my mouth. It's okay, Mom, it's a joint. So my mom decided to borrow my laptop without telling me once, and when she opened it at work she found a folder full of animal, granny, BBW, and pregnant woman P. Explanation: it wasn't an actual folder, it was an image of a screenshot that I had taken. I was borrowing internet from a neighbor, who had his entire computer on a shared network. For some reason, being the nosy teenager I was, I browsed his files and found the creepiest stash of P I had never even heard of. I couldn't stop laughing, so I took a screenshot, just of the file names, pasted into a paint file and saved it. However, I didn't close out of the paint file before I shut my laptop. My mother knows nothing about computers, and I never expected her to randomly take mine to work. So when that was the first thing she saw as she opened my computer, she freaked out. Password protection, man. Seriously. My friend, who is a film student, tends to make about 1-3 short films every summer when he's home from college. I usually help him out. He doesn't have a printer at his house, so it's always been my job to print out 1 or 2 scripts to do a read through with him and the actors. One of his shorts was about a closeted lesbian who was in love with her best friend. The last page of the script involved a passionate kiss and then some screaming. And, of course, when I was stapling them, one of those pages fell to the ground. My mother, who has always suspected me of being a lesbian, found it and assumed I had written it. She absolutely wouldn't believe me when I said it belonged to my friend. The leader of the local Girl Scout troop belonged to the same pool as my family. One day I went to pick up my daughter from her scout meeting, with a few of the other mothers I didn't know, as well as most of the Girl Scouts all paying attention to me since I had just walked in, the leader exclaimed. Once she figured out who I was there to pick up, "I didn't recognize you with your clothes on." The look on the faces of the other mothers was priceless. I got a hole in my favorite sweater when I was around 12. It was made of that stretchy, thin material that's impossible to mend without being obvious, so I was looking for alternatives to save it. I got this idea that nail polish would keep the hole from spreading, but I didn't have any clear, so I used a dark maroon color that matched the shirt. The hole was on the chest of the shirt, so was eye level for most of the boys in my 6th grade class. I figured I had to do something to make my bra less obvious through the hole, so I grabbed a bra I didn't like and painted it with the same nail polish. Perfect. Mom found the bra first and accepted that I had spilled nail polish on it. I'm not sure why I didn't tell the truth, but I was a kid and kids are weird. Then my mom found the sweater. All she saw was a hole with a dark, crusty ring and she assumed I had been smoking and had burned a hole in the sweater. I had never smoked in my life, never left the house without her except to go to school, and had no way to get to a store that sold cigarettes without a car. Yet I was still grounded for smoking. She didn't believe my story, not even paired with the painted bra. TLDR. Painted my shirt with nail polish. My mom jumped to conclusions. About 8 years ago me and some friends were working in northern Italy around this time of year and we decided to hire a car and drive into Germany for Oktoberfest. After finding a car park in Munich we, 3 guys, 2 girls, head off to enjoy the beer. A few hours pass and my girlfriend is pretty drunk and looks like she's gonna start puking soon, so we all decide to take her back to the car and let her have a bit of sleep on the back seat. Trying to get her into the car was a different story though because she wanted to sleep in at the back. No, really back the car. Naturally we throw her in the boot and she went to sleep. The rest of us locked the car and off we went to find a bar. Many beers and sing-songs later we were heading back to the car when 2 policemen stopped us in the street and asked us for our IDs. We explained that all our stuff was in our hire car around the corner. The nice policeman offered to walk with us to the car so we could show them that we were legit European citizens and we weren't trying to smuggle people into the country or anything absurd like that. Get to the car, open the boot. Italian girlfriend is still asleep on our bags. The police look at each other and I quickly explain why there is what appears to be a drugged up kidnap victim in our car. After waking her up she starts shouting at the police because she was nice sleepy there. The policemen check all our passports and one of them wishes me luck dealing with my crazy drunk girlfriend and gives me a wink. Someone invited me to follow some cabaret thing on Facebook, so I did. Later, I was checking updates in front of some friends, and bam, gay stripping. I heard a story once where this guy had fricked a girl and then woke up and she had disappeared, but all of her clothes were still at his house. He was really confused and was texting her throughout the day asking what had happened and if she could come around and get her clothes. Eventually, she comes and picks them up, but seems really embarrassed and doesn't explain what happened the night before. As she gets in her car, his neighbor runs out and as she's driving away, asks the guy if he knows her. The guy says yes and the neighbor says to get her back because the night before, he had seen her outside of the guy's house trying to open a window to get back inside. The neighbor went out and asked her what was wrong, and she said that she had walked outside naked and couldn't get back in. He offered to take her back into his house so she could get some clothes, to which she accepted. As she's putting these clothes on, the neighbor's wife gets home, sees the naked girl putting clothes on and immediately starts shouting angrily at him as she runs out and down the street. He wanted to get the naked girl back to testify his innocence to his wife, which he eventually did, and all was well. TLDR. Guy fricks a girl, she sleepwalks outside. Neighbor tries to give her clothes. Neighbor's wife sees them and gets angry. He tries to explain. I think I heard this on Hamish and Andy. I have a friend who was once stopped while driving a white van down the motorway. The cop asked to see what was inside. There were about 20 ounces of crack, weed, crystal METC, 6 pistols, a sawn-off shotgun, a rifle, a box of ammo, a box full of knives as well as a human head, 2 feet and a hand. My friend waited for the look on the cop's face before saying it's okay. I have paperwork. He works for a forensics lab. This has got to be the best cover ever. One time I went to a festival with my friends, summer between junior and senior years of high school. When we returned to the car to go home, we found a dime baggie of crack rocks on the ground. We didn't want to smoke it, so we took it home, and I kept it in a stash box in my room. A few months later, I come home from a party much more wasted than I should have been to drive home. It's late, but all the lights are on in my house. My parents are awake. I walk in and they are seated in the family room, watching TV, being drunk. I try to treat the situation as a normal one. It's 2 AM. They go to bed at 11. My dad says, I was looking in your room today and I found this. And my dad holds up the bag of crack I had forgotten about. What is it? I shrugged and said, it's cracksy in my best Jerry Blank impression. My mom says, we know what it is. Where did you get it? Her voice getting louder. I looked stunned for a second. I found it on the ground. This story has no climax. Also, don't pick up crack. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.